Hello, good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here, and today we have the brand new Commonwealth, or Australian, destroyer import to review, the Vampire 2, the Tier 10 Australian destroyer, and boy, what a ship this is, and this has been a very highly anticipated ship right here. So we went ahead and picked her up last night, right around the start of the live stream. We played her for most of the night, so I went ahead and removed the commander, removed the modules and all the flags. We're going to go ahead and look through her stats and such today. Now, of course, this is a Research Bureau ship, so in order to acquire the Vampire 2, you must already own 5 Tier 10 ships and then regrind lines. If you want to whale her in her entirety, she'll be about $300. I do not suggest doing that. I'm able to do that and get her to review right off the bat because, of course, I have the YouTube channel and Patreon and Twitch to support this channel, and I'm able to throw that money at the game and get these ships to review for you guys right out the gate, so I can let you guys know whether or not they are right for you. But anyway, again, just get the ship by regrinding lines normally. The best line to regrind, by the way, if you're wondering, is the Japanese gunboat line. This is the easiest line to regrind, the quickest as well. So if you have the Harugamo, you're already in a good place to do that. Alright, anyways, let's go ahead and look at the Vampire 2. So, of course, having played on stream, I have had quite a few matches in here. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But anyway, armor, standard 19mm plating. By the way, this is literally just a daring. This is just a daring hull, by the way. But there are some differences, and we'll go through those here in a moment. Hit points, she has 19,800 hit points without any captain skills applied. Artillery, she has 6 of these 113mm guns. They reload base in 2.5 seconds. They have a 180 turn time of 7.2 seconds. Maximum dispersion of 111 meters. Her HE shell does 1,700 max damage and has an 8% chance of starting a fire. And her HE shell can also pin 19mm of armor. AP shell does 2,100 maximum damage, and base she has a range of 12.8 kilometers. AP and HE shells have an initial velocity of 746 meters a second. For a torpedo, she does only have one torpedo tube, unlike the Daring, with a 96-second reload time, 180 time of 7.2 seconds. Her torpedoes do a maximum damage of 19,500. They have a range of 12 kilometers. They're detectable from 1.3 kilometers, and they travel at 62 knots. AA, she has an A rating of 52 with a maximum range of 5.8 kilometers, and she throws up 4 flak shells per salvo, per burst, and she has a continuous damage of 130 hit points per second. And her flak clouds do 1,610 damage per cloud. Alright, maneuverability, base, she has a 35 knot top speed, a turning circle radius of 630 meters, and a rudder shift time of 4.4 seconds. Concealment, she has a base concealment range of 7.2 seconds, an air detection range of 3.4 kilometers, and that is it for her stats. Now, before I go any further, I do want to preface the rest of the review, which is we're about to get into the gameplay portion, by saying, well, first off, if you guys were there last night for a stream, you guys know we had a rough night. As most of you know, the game was down, the servers were down from Thursday night around midnight throughout yesterday until literally right before stream. I had literally downloaded Tarkov because I thought we were going to be playing that on stream because the servers weren't up, but they came up just in time for stream. So I think everyone and their mom got on, especially because Vampire 2 was released. And we ran into several of those on the first night. So, yeah. But it was like a turbocharged weekend. So just take anything I say from here on out with a grain of salt and understand that that is the environment we were playing in. But before we get into the gameplay review, I'm going to go ahead and module her out and put my commander back on her, walk you through the build, and then her post-commander and module stats. Alright, module build, I went with main armaments mod 1, engine protection upgrade, because again, since like 2 updates ago, it seems like destroyers' engines are made of like tissue paper. Aiming systems mod 1, steering gears mod 1, concealment, and main battery mod 3. And of course, for her consumables, I forgot to go over these. She gets the crawling smoke generator, which lasts for 90 seconds and has a reload time of 120 seconds. She gets hydro that has a 5 kilometer range and detects torpedoes at 3.5 kilometers and is active for 100 seconds. And of course, engine boost. Alright, so to the commander now. So I went with preventive maintenance, last stand, pyrotechnician, main battery and A specialist, adrenaline rush, survivability expert, and of course concealment expert. So now her guns have a 2.1 second reload time. I am planning, once this guy is built back up to 21 points, to get maybe Fearless Brawler on here, so I get another 10% boost to that reload time as well, because I did only have an 18-point commander to play with her for this review, because I don't play a lot of Commonwealth ships because they're mostly DDs and the Perth. But anyway, so with this concealment expert skill and the concealment module, you have one of the ship's greatest strength, which is its detection range, 5.8 kilometers. That is some of the best detection at tier 10. That's a huge strength of this ship, by the way. Other than that, her hit points. She has 23,300 hit points now with survivability expert on there as well. Oh, and of course we can't forget to put the signal flags back on, which with the Sierra Bravo signal flag, her hydro now lasts 110 seconds, which has a pretty long hydro to have on a DD. And with the speed flag, her top speed is 36.8 knots now, and the rotor shift time is now down to 3.5 seconds. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and jump into combat, and I will meet you guys there. Alright guys, voiceover Mountbatten here. So, the best way I can describe the Vampire 2 is that she is a high-risk, high-reward daring. That is the best way I can describe her to you. Because literally everything about the Vampire 2 is better than the daring. And in order to get that, you have to trade a couple of things for that. So in order to get the faster load time on the guns and the fantastic concealment, you have to give up a torpedo tube launcher and the hill. And of course to get the crawling smoke screen as well, because of course the daring gets the burst smoke screen. So if you are comfortable playing daring, and you've had a lot of experience playing daring and playing cap contesting ships, so obviously daring, if you're good at contesting caps in general, you will of course be very comfortable in the Vampire 2. I mean, literally everything, just about everything about the Vampire 2 is just the daring but better. Even the hydroacoustic search. Daring has a 3 kilometer hydroacoustic search. Vampire 2 is a 5 kilometer hydroacoustic search. And on a lot of maps, that's literally the entire cap. So Vampire 2 is very good at just denying the enemy DD the thought of staying in a cap with it. But, of course, like I said earlier, tonight was, and I'm recording this literally right after stream where all these thoughts are still fresh in my head. Tonight was a very rough night. A very, 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 very rough night. I did better playing the new German DDs than the Vampire 2. And I'm not a good DD player. I'm about an average DD player. My stats in DDs are, right now, painfully average. But I got the German DDs up to around an average, with the Felix Schultz at least, about 80 to 90k thousand damage a game. With those DDs, and those DDs have terrible survivability, terrible concealment, and their RPM for their guns isn't that high, but I managed to get them to work to about an 80 to 90,000 average damage over the course of last weekend and this week. With the Vampire 2, I'm sitting at around 40 to 50. Mainly because what happened with the Vampire 2 last night for me is that I'll get in a cap, kill at least one DD, which is of course very good for your team, do a bit of damage to either the second DD that was there with that DD or to one of the surrounding ships, and then either my team would utterly collapse or the match would end. Every single game last night was a blowout match. Either my team utterly walked over the enemy team or my team just got walked on. If you were there last night on stream, You saw that, and you can even go watch that on Twitch right now too, and see that's what was going on. And that's not the best environment to test out a new ship. However, from the engagements I had with the Vampire 2, this ship is good. This ship is darn good. This ship is very, very, very good. If you're a good DD player, this ship is going to do it for you. It's fantastic. 5-kilometer hydro, 2.1 second reload time on the guns with the build that I have right now. And that's not including Fearless Brawler. So you can get that down to under a second with Fearless Brawler active, and well under a second, of course, with Adrenaline Rush going as well. I'm sorry, under 2 seconds with Adrenaline Rush going as well. It is insane, the guns of the ship. And they still have that good British DD AP. You should be using AP against, of course, the DDs and anything where you can pin. If you can pin like the superstructure of a battleship, of a cruiser, go for it. You'll be doing like, I was getting at least 2, 3, 4, 5k hits damage a hit on the superstructure on parts of the ship that I could pin when most of the shells would land. It's fantastic. The HE isn't that great, but with the fire flag on and with Power Technician, which I may take off later in my build, you just have a 10% chance of starting a fire with a 2.1 second reload time on the build that I have right now. So if you can't pin it with your AP, use HE, start some fires, get a good bit of damage in. But again, I didn't really have time to farm damage in the Vampire 2 in the games that I had last night. That was the biggest thing that I had. I just didn't have time because the matches were over in like 5 or 6 minutes. That's rough on any class. Even when I played Battleships last night, well, I'm sorry, just an hour ago for me, last night for you guys, I had trouble doing like 70 or 80,000 damage, and that's the class I'm most comfortable in. It was just one of those nights. Well, one of those nights on steroids, I should say. But yeah, Vampire 2, great cap contesting DD. If you are a good DD player, this is definitely a ship worth getting. But it does have a pretty high skill floor, because it is the Daring's hull still. It's a big DD. It sits up very high out of the waterline. It's not the fastest DD ever. With the engine boost, that does help it out a little bit. So if you get in trouble, if you're a high-skilled DD player, you can get out of it very easy. You do have that crawling smokescreen too, which is better than the burst smoke. The burst smoke's good for like getting away for a second or two. The crawling smoke screen, you can do that, but you can also sit in it and of course farm or move and be undetected. So that's very nice. That's very much a Commonwealth thing for the Vampire 2 and for the rest of the Commonwealth ships. But you don't have that heal. So you have to be comfortable in Daring to do good in the Vampire 2. And I haven't played Daring yet. Vampire 2 is my first introduction to that, so that's probably why I also didn't do too well on top of the teams that I was getting last night. But even with someone like me, I was still able to kill the DD that was contesting the cap against me, do a decent bit of damage to the second DD or to other ships that were around me before either the match ended or we just got completely rolled over on our flank. So the ship is good. The ship performs very well, and most of the games that I played in the ship, I was in the top 5 of the team. Because you are doing damage to DDs, and the game does reward you for the proportional amount of damage you've done to the ship. So, yeah, you may have only been doing... Well, I may have only been doing about 30,000 damage, or 40,000 damage, 50,000 damage some games, but most of it was to other DDs. So, I was finding myself pretty up high on the leaderboard. And, of course, capping, too. The ship's, of course, good at capping. It's good at cap contesting and taking the caps, of course. So, that helps out... That helps out as well with the XP gain there. So, overall... fantastic ship, but you shouldn't get it unless you're a good DD player or comfortable in Daring. If you're comfortable in Daring, this is like a side grade to Daring. It's a high risk, high reward. You lose your heal, you gain a lot. The improved smokescreen, well, the crawling smokescreen, the improved hydro, the faster reload on the guns, the better concealment, but you lose the heal. So if you're comfortable in Daring, you'll probably love this ship and do fantastic in it. Now, it is a Research Bureau ship, so you do have a heavy grind in front of you. But, in my opinion, if you meet that criteria, you're a good DD player, or you're comfortable in Daring, or you like DDs, this ship is worth the grind, and this ship will take you very far in the game. So, that's my opinion of the Vampire 2, the new Tier 10 Commonwealth Destroyer, and I did of course slap the Australian flag on there. You can do that. You can select the Commonwealth flag they got in game or the Australian flag. So I encourage you to put the Australian flag on there because that's where it's from, of course. But yeah, it's a great ship. I have a feeling that if you like daring, you will enjoy the ship a whole lot. But that's my opinion on the ship. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way now to 25,000 subs, just past 24,200 a few days ago. I kind of thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.